Hey everyone, welcome back to Poplar Preparedness. In this episode, we're going to be talking about what's going on in a lot of places around the world where food is becoming desperately short. We're going to hit Pakistan, Brazil, Myanmar, which is Burma, and then the Horn of Africa, Somalia, Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia. And we're going to be talking about kind of what's going on in those areas. There's a lot of destabilization happening because of the lack of food. Now, before we jump into that, let's just talk real briefly that this is supported by Genesis Gold Group. And they're asking the question, if you're stocked up on food and water already, how about your retirement funds? Are they someplace safe, or are they invested in just corporations and governments that are deep in debt? Talk to Jonathan over at Genesis Gold Group and about how to protect your funds in your retirement accounts. And if you mention this channel, you will get set up without any setup costs. Let's jump into it. So Pakistan, or Pakistan, if you're American, right? Imran Khan, we're just hearing that Imran Khan there was an attempted assassination on him. One person was killed, 6 were wounded. He was shot in the leg, and it is just, the whole country is devolving. If you have been following along, I've mentioned this before about how Pakistan is probably the next in line to become massively destabilized. And why is that? Because across the country, about 80% of their crops across the whole country have been damaged due to flooding. They've had massive, extensive floods. There were videos months back about just basically the whole country being basically underwater. In 81 districts, there was 30,000 square miles of farmland that were underwater. That's hard to wrap my mind even around. But when you start hearing the percentages of like 80% of the crops in the country were damaged by these floods, you can understand how a country as impoverished as it is, already before the flooding, having one of the highest rates of malnutrition in any country in the world. Think India, but like very much on par with India, some of the worst parts of India. Now there's some parts of Pakistan that are actually very well off. Some people in Pakistan are very well off financially, but a lot of people struggling to survive. And that's kind of the situation there. And then 80% of the crops across the whole country getting destroyed. They're a net exporter of food before, and now that has all been thrown in jeopardy. The poverty is hitting even harder, and a lot of people that grow their own food or are used to getting food from local farmers are not able to do so. Brazil is also being destabilized right now. People are in the streets. They're blocking roads. They are shining lights out in front of government offices and stuff like that. And we're getting some reports of cars plowing into crowds now. There is a lot going on there where they are not accepting the results of the casting the papers over there. And can't even talk about it because, you know, the powers that be won't let us talk about those things on this platform. If you want to hear some more straight shooting from me, you can follow me over on Twitter. The link is down in the description down below my name, and also on the About page. You can check me out on Twitter. I'm starting to get more involved there now that it's under new management, so to speak, where they're talking about having freedom of speech. Imagine that. Crazy stuff. But over in Brazil, there's a lot going on right now if you're not paying attention to it. Brazil is a major exporter of food. They grow a ton of food for people around the world, and they are having some serious issues with politics and everything like that. All that is destabilizing things, and if they do not export the food that they normally do, for whatever reason, whether they can't move that via trucks because all the roads are blocked, whether truckers refuse to move it, this could cause serious disruptions in the entire world. Myanmar, Burma, 1.3 million people displaced within the country. To put that in perspective, that's equivalent to the country in Eastern Europe, how many people were displaced from there. In Burma, that's how many people have been displaced for years. and many of them are farmers. We've seen the agricultural production in Burma just plunging. And even more people have been forced out of their homes recently, and many of them, we're getting reports, were farmers, and they're getting moved off their land. They're fleeing from government. And we're seeing that over the last year, food costs are up 64% in that country. Again, this country is one of the most food insecure nations in the world. In the same area of India, if you're not up on your geography, but Burma is very, very poor in many respects. In many places, it's poorer than a lot of places in India. So just the government fighting and everything like that that's been going on for years and years and years is actually getting worse. If it can be believed, it's actually getting worse. The persecution of the government against minorities and a lot of the people in the country has grown more intense over the last number of months. Okay, moving over to Horn of Africa. I know you're like, I've never gone there in summer vacation, but Somalia, Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Sudan's, and then other Djibouti and all those kind of places right there, right? The Horn of Africa is experiencing its fourth year of drought. When we go back to 2010, 2012 drought that hit Somalia, 250,000 people died. If you go back to the previous drought, we had many more people that died there as well. If you remember Black Hawk Down, the whole scenario, there's a movie about it. That whole situation in Somalia was in response to the United States trying to bring food relief and the UN bringing food relief into Somalia. And of course the groups inside Somalia taking that food and not allowing it to go to the people, but that was another drought in that area. It's not to say that this is unprecedented, but what it is a massive, huge human tragedy. And then you add on to that record high food prices so that they can't purchase from outside the country food. And then you're seeing where food is being produced around the world, it's drying up. It is being very negatively impacted across the board. We're having food shortages everywhere, and that's why prices are going up. When you have a shortage, prices go up, right? And we're seeing prices going up, and people are saying there's no shortage. I promise you there are shortages, and the people in Pakistan, the people in the Horn of Africa, the people who are the poorest in the world are going to be the first ones to be experiencing it, and they already are. You may go to the grocery store and see a 50% increase in your price of your groceries, and it's painful to you, but you can still afford food. Okay, some people in the United States are struggling to afford the food, right? But there are things that can be done. But in third world countries, a lot of these people literally are being priced out of food, and they can't buy it from someone nearby, and they can't afford to import it from a first world country where food is coming from, right? They can't import soybeans from the United States and afford to pay for them. This is what the situation is around the world, and I keep saying food shortage, and people are like, there's no real problem there. We're never going to go hungry here in the United States and in UK, and we're never going to go hungry. It's like, you know what? Even if we don't, millions and millions of people dying around the world because of the global food shortage is still a really big deal. If you don't care about them because they have different nationality or different skin color than you, well, you're a horrible person. I understand we need to look after ourselves and look after what's going on, but as those prices go up 50, 60, 70% on us, remember they're going up those same prices for people around the world who literally live day to day, do not have life savings. They work and they go straight to the stores to purchase food on the way home, whatever they can, and that's what they're going to eat for the day. Friends, these people are extremely on the edge, and If you want me to make this a little bit about you, let me say it this way. Those people are not going to lay down and starve to death peacefully. They don't historically do that. They will move to destabilize their governments. They will change the world as we know it, and you will feel the effects of that, I promise. Massive food shortages around the world and the food war that is coming because of it. It's coming, folks. Pay attention. Stock up on food. Do what you can to become more self-sufficient. If you can increase production of your food and help others who are farming in your area to get your supply chain as short as possible, the more food out there, the better it will be for all of humanity. But brace yourself. World War III will probably be provoked in part by the water wars and the food wars. All right, folks, if you found this video to be useful, helpful, you might want to check out this video from me right here. Otherwise, I will see you later. Steve Poplar out.